News that just came into our newsroom right now that President Trump, this was anticipated when he came to town and had his rally in downtown Phoenix. He said, not going to pardon Sheriff Joe tonight, but I think he's going to be okay. It just happened.
Yeah, like Dennis. You said, no big surprise. I mean, the only big surprise is that he didn't do it here in Phoenix. And I think if he had done it here a couple of nights ago, what we saw after that rally would have been a lot worse. I mean, people really emotional.
He insinuated it at the rally. He knew that the tensions were riding high going into that. It's one of the reasons why there were so many protesters outside of his rally, because it was a lot of it was about the former Sheriff Joe Arpaio. The former sheriff did not go to the rally, by the way. He stayed at home.
He said that he wasn't invited, right? He said he had other plans.
Yeah, he said he wasn't invited. He said he would have gone had he been invited. I think Charlottesville kind of changed the dynamic a little bit of that rally. I think that was the original plan, was to come here and pardon them. But for people I was talking to the day of the rally, they said they did not want to incite the people, that they weren't going to plan to pardon him that day. Again, this is not a big surprise. Big supporter during the campaign of Trump. So, you know, there you go.
We knew yesterday, did we not, that he had filed the paperwork. That paperwork was in the process of being made. Yeah, through the White House. So, again, this just confirming what we've been reporting over the past 24 hours now.
Yeah, a lot of people are really emotional about this. They're going to feel like justice has been robbed from them, at least his critics. Supporters of Arpaio are going to probably celebrate this because they really believe that he was only arrested for doing his job enforcing the law.
How much money has Maricopa County spent on this case? Is it upwards of $100 million?
It's getting close to that. Last I saw was over $70 million on this case, and more money is going to be expended over the next couple of years. So, you know, Arpaio's out of office, but the cost is still lingering.
Congressman Trent Franks was at the president's rally the other night, and he said that he always felt that Arpaio's prosecution was politically motivated, and he said that he really wanted to see this presidential pardon come through, which, again, if you're just joining us right now, it has happened tonight, just moments ago. President Trump has pardoned former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio, but Puente, for instance, said if this happens, it's really an endorsement of white supremacy.
Yeah, I want to be clear, too, because they're trying to make the case that, you know, Arpaio was just doing his job, that he was being convicted for just doing his job. Well, he was convicted on criminal contempt for ignoring a court order for 18 months.
To stop his immigration rates.
Yeah. Now, this is a guy, Arpaio spent his lifetime talking about law and order. This is a president who talked a lot about the campaign of law and order. If you remember his nomination speech last year, he talked a lot about law and order. Well, you know, Arpaio was convicted for not following a court order. Without following court orders, you don't have a lot of law and order.
This is really interesting because this really flies in the face of a federal judge's discretion order. So this has been going through our federal courts for years now, and this decision was just months ago, and it is a federal contempt of court case for deliberately disobeying not just any judge, but a federal judge's order. And so will there be a possibility? I know there's been some precedent. So when Clinton pardoned on the very last day his financier for tax evasion, he did the pardon on his very last day in office. The FBI did then investigate. And then we saw that all those papers were released just in the weeks and days leading up to the election. Some say played into what happened. Do you anticipate, is it possible that the FBI could then investigate this presidential pardon of Joe Arpaio today?
You know, pardons are a pretty powerful part. My understanding is a pretty powerful part. It comes for the president. It comes directly from the Constitution. He has a lot of broad latitude on that. And, you know, this is something, you know, Arpaio is 85 years old. He's going to give him a pardon. I don't think they're going to expend any more resources, any more energy to go after him at this point. I mean, this is a man who spent a lifetime in law enforcement. He's going out with a criminal conviction, and a pardon on his record. I mean, this is something he's been publicly shamed. I don't see the FBI taking much more of an interest in it.
And by the way, you talk to any criminal expert will tell you that they never thought Sheriff Joe Arpaio would ever even spend a day in jail, even after being found guilty of contempt of court. But you know, listen, the supporters of the former sheriff say, again, that it was politically driven, that even though that there was this federal judge that found him guilty of it, they were upset that a jury was never able to decide his fate. It was up to a single judge.
And that's why it was a misdemeanor account. You have to remember, this was not like a felony account. They went after the misdemeanor charge so they could avoid a jury trial in Maricopa County, because it would be almost impossible to find 12 people to put on a jury that are all going to agree to find Joe Arpaio guilty of anything. He's been sheriff for 24 years here, still has a lot of supporters out there. That's why the feds went after that misdemeanor charge instead of the felony charge.
All right, Dennis Welch, always good to have you here when this kind of news breaks.
Just days after the president's campaign rally here in the Valley, the promise has come to fruition. He has pardoned former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio.